First up is Tess, and this is really good. This has got a lot of character to it. I really like the having the one arm at the side and swinging the other arm. That gives a lot of style. Um, I like that the legs are doing something interesting by kind of coming to the center, but they're penetrating each other a little bit there. So if you could kind of on a keyframe in the middle swing them out a little bit so they don't intersect each other, that would be better. Um, and one thing you can do is, it's good that there's a lot of that hip twist there. But if you could do what I call correct for the head, which means that animate the head so it stays straight even while the body's rotating, kind of counter animate. Um, like just every time the head's turned, sort of extremely straighten it out again instead of keyframe and just kind of it'll look better. You'll see. And I think there's some rigging issue with your buttons. Perhaps they're both parented and bound to the skeleton, and it can only be one or the other. And normally I would say, oh, that's raising the knee pretty high, but I think it really works for this walk. So yeah, it's really good. You really put some personality into it. Next up is Jonathan. So yeah, you got some movement on there. That's good. You're not getting like a complete cycle of two steps. It sort of interrupts partway through, so you want to complete that step. The arms are a bit bent. I would have them kind of, a little straighter and kind of swinging more by the side. And then, get some hip twist in there would be good, and some sort of up and down movement on the root as well. And as far as this character, I really don't think you can continue to use this character for this class. It's really incomplete without the hands and really a proper face and all that stuff. So I think you should just use one of the stock characters from the Silver City folder at this point. Next up is Stephanie. So yeah, the this is looking pretty good. I think you've got some good stuff going on with the legs and the hips. I think the arms aren't really swinging; they're just kind of moving with the rest of the body, and you kind of want to have them swinging opposite, the same as the opposite leg. And if you're going to twist the hips this much, you want to do the counter twist to the shoulders so that they twist kind of opposite. Right now, they're just kind of moving along with the hips, but you want to twist that opposite, ideally. And then keep the head a little bit more straight because it looks funny with the head rotating side to side like that. So I think it's a good start, but I think there's a few more things you need to add there. Next up is Morgan. So it looks good. It's got a certain style to it. You've stayed subtle, which can be good. There's a bit of a pop to the knees, and a good way to deal with that is if the root is lower, um, then the knees wouldn't kind of pop and lock like that. What you see is they're getting a little bit overextended in the middle there, and then when they go back to being bent, it sort of pops. And so the way to avoid that is to make sure they never go completely straight. Like they should have at least a tiny bend to them at all times. And the way to do that is to lower the root. Also, by lowering the root, gives you a little bit room to do a bit of a longer stride because it's quite a small step. It's maybe not too small, but it's pretty small. So you might want to increase the length of the stride. Um, but yeah, you've got some subtle motion to the hips and shoulders, and that's good. You could add a touch of the wrist rotation. That might step it up as well. Next up is Jackie. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's interesting in that like you don't see the legs at all because the big skirt. But you can still it still actually feels like a walk, and that's actually a pretty good test of this. That it still feels like walking even if you can't see the legs. You've got some good kind of shoulder rotation side to side there, and some hips rotation, which is good. I think it does have a little bit of an angry feel with the clenched fists, which is nice. You might want to do what I call counter animating the head a little bit to try and keep it straight a little bit more while she's walking. But I think this one turned out really well. Next up is Jasmine, and yeah, I don't know what the story is with Adobe Media Encoder, but I would say maybe it's like a different version or something. Like you might want to just check your Adobe software updater thing and see if you can update the versions and then see if it works or do a reboot, that kind of thing. I'm not really sure why it wouldn't open Media Encoder. It's odd. Here's the walk. And yeah, you got a start. You got some movement on there. That's good. I think the stride is much too short. I think if you can get, much longer stride, that would be better because that looks a little funny. And I think that just the arm swing looks off a little bit. There's that sort of pause in the middle, which I think is strange with the arm swing. It should be more continuous. Just kind of, swinging back and forth with the steps. And if you can counter animate the head so it stays straight, that would be good. And really counter animate the shoulders. The shoulders should rotate opposite the hips. So if they could, they would also help keep things looking a little straighter. So yeah, there's a few things to fix on here, but it's you got some good movement on there, so it's a good start. Next up is Rand. I'm just gonna hide at least the joints. So there's something a little wacky going on with this. Do the arms move the... Oh, okay, yeah, that's what's looking weird. Alright, let's fix that. So, do they affect this part as well? No, just the shirt stuff. So, I'm going to take that and right mouse click, go down to Paint, Skin Cluster. Oh, there's two of them. Interesting. I'll double click on this. And what we want is not to be part of any part of the arms. So let's start with the left. I'll just start with the left. Oh, it's freezing up on me. Let's see if it comes back. Sorry, it was just frozen for a second. Okay, left collar. I'm going to change make sure this is at replace. Put this value at 0 and flood. And then work my way down because none of these should be, I'm just using the down arrow. I would have expected to see a little bit of more result by now. Dang. So Maya crashed on me. I can show you another approach for dealing with this. So let's select these and go into component mode and make sure we've picked all of the vertices of those. May have to do these pants as well. Oops. Control and Shift will add to the selection. Okay. The other thing we can use is the component editor. Window, General Editors, Component Editor. And here you want to be under Smooth Skins. And you can imagine for those pieces how the back joints might have some influence. But then you look at like, and these other joints are part of those sort of rib joints. And maybe the collar, but certainly the left hand root, the left index, like all that isn't going to have that. So you can select this whole column here. Just type 0, enter, and the column should go away. Um, there's all these right thumb and pinky things and forearm, elbow, and all that stuff can. Those columns go away. Should. This is trickier than I thought. I mean, another way to do it is click on. Whoops. Should be able to click on a column, control click in one of the fields, type 0. Didn't want to do it. Click on a column, control click there, 0, enter. Did that go away? Right thumb 3. No, that's not working. Alright, let's try it this way again. 0, enter. No, that's not working. Okay, well, skip that. Let's just go back to the paint weights tool. And try it again, value of 0, and let's do, yeah, I mean that might affect part of the shirt, so we'll leave that, but the shoulder probably doesn't need to on this, so flood. Then I'm just going to use my down arrow, and then everything that has to do with that hand and arm, I'm going to flood to 0, and these as well. Okay, let's see if that's, if I can object mode, if that's still moving with, it is, so we can kind of see what's, I'm just going to undo to where we have these. We can see what's happening in the component editor now, because we should have fewer columns. Yeah, I'm still seeing left shoulder, thumb, left thumb 2, all that kind of stuff, so where is that? Left shoulder. One thing you can do too is, see, actually this looks like they're starting to move back into place. Yeah, that's looking better. Oh, I didn't mean to do the collar, but okay, let's try this again. Jeez. So it's being a little bit tricky. I mean, if he was in bind pose, I would just bind him again, but he's not. So the other thing we could do is just being a little bit more careful about it is, again with those points selected, is flood it to 0 and then lock it after we do that so it can't put any of the weights back on there after we flood it. Because it's possible that it's, we take the weights off and then it's just putting it back on as some of those other ones, which I wouldn't have thought it would do, but it is possible. But now it will be impossible for it to put any of the weights back on the locked ones. Basically, by flooding it with 0, we're saying these joints have no influence over the selected points. And by locking it, but when you flood something with 0, the trick is that it has to put the weights somewhere, so there is some danger of it putting the weights back on. See, that one still has a bunch of weight on it. Interesting. So there's no way that any of those could have any weight on them. Let's go back into object mode. Aha! Okay. Well, there's still some on here. Jeez. Whoops. Let's let's see what the component editor says as far as what. Right thumb 3. Where is that one? Let's just check here again, see what we missed. Back, jaw, chin. That one's unlocked. It should be. Oh, interesting. Okay. I think that did it. Finally. Okay. So sorry that was a little sloppy, but got it eventually. So if we select all of these and click off one, see how it unlocks them all at once, in case you need to do any other waiting stuff, so they're unlocked. Okay. And so now that that's fixed, yeah, it's not quite looping. There's a bit of a glitch in the end. You might want to, as I mentioned before, sort of counter animate the head. Let me show a quick example of that. So, look at how the head's going side to side now. What you can do is, let's select the head. Maybe look at it in the front view, for example. I'm going to turn on auto keyframe. Go to the beginning. Just going to straighten out this head a little bit, and actually let's delete that because there was a fractional keyframe there which we don't like. Okay, so I'll set that and then wait till the head. Oh, there's a pop right here, by the way. There must be like a big jump in the keyframes there. But anyway, straighten that out and just kind of wait until he's, at his furthest point, and then just try to straighten it each time. I have it automatically setting keyframes. So hopefully you get the idea. It's a little funny because of that pop at the beginning. What I might actually do is, just to not have to clean up the rest of it, I'm just going to get rid of that first frame so we can just watch this. So you can get the idea of what I'm saying here. So see how the head kind of, it could have done a somewhat better job, but see how the head kind of stays straight even when the body's rotating around? That's what I mean by counter animating the head.